Chinese robotics company UBTech has unveiled a new generation of AI-powered humanoids designed to provide emotional companionship for single people. The robots can build lifelong relationships, offering unconditional loyalty.
China just started selling a female AI robot companion that the company says can read more than 20 human emotions with over 90% accuracy. It is called U1, and it is being sold as something more personal than a normal robot. It can talk, respond, remember, and make people feel like someone is actually there. So what happens when the next robot entering people's homes is not built to work for them, but to make them feel less alone? The robot behind the headline comes from UBTech, a Chinese robotics company that has spent years building humanoid machines for industrial, commercial, and service work. The U1 belongs to its new UWorld companion line, and that word matters because this is not being presented like the robots most people are used to seeing. UBTech unveiled the U1 series in Shenzhen in 2026. It comes in 3 versions: U1 Lite, U1 Pro, and U1 Ultra. The lower version starts at 119,800 yuan, while the most expensive version reaches 990,000 yuan. That puts the top model in the range of a luxury car, which means this is not a cheap household gadget. It is a high-end robot built for buyers willing to pay for something unusual. The U1 also comes in male and female versions. The female model is reported at 168 centimeters tall and 35.2 kilograms, while the male version is taller and heavier. The body is designed with silicone skin, facial expressions, eye contact, and a human-shaped form. UBTech says the robot has 88 degrees of freedom, meaning it has many moving joints and parts that allow the body to move in more human-like ways. The versions are not all the same. The U1 Lite is a semi-torso model, while the Pro and Ultra versions are full-body robots, and the higher-end version is designed for more advanced movement. This is not one robot with every ability at every price. It is a product line, and the more complete versions cost far more. What makes the launch important is that UBTech is treating U1 as a product, not just a stage demo. Reuters reported that UBTech received more than 13,000 orders for the U1 series and aims to complete deliveries within the year. That does not mean these robots are already common in ordinary homes, but the category has crossed a line from a strange future idea into something with pricing, orders, and a delivery plan. For years, lifelike robots mostly lived in viral clips, research labs, and tech exhibitions. U1 is different because it is being sold with a clear role attached to it. It is being packaged as a companion, and that purpose turns this from a robotics story into something much more personal. Most robots are sold around work. They lift parts in factories, move boxes in warehouses, clean floors, guide visitors, inspect equipment, or repeat tasks that humans do not want to do. That is the easy version of robotics to understand. A robot is a tool, and its value comes from how well it completes a job. The U1 is being sold around something harder to measure. UBTech describes the series as supporting daily companionship, emotional support, lifestyle interaction, social assistance, elder care, hospitality, research, education, and premium domestic service. Some uses are still practical, especially in businesses or care settings, but the most unusual part is the emotional companionship angle. That changes the standard for success. A factory robot does not need to look warm or understand a person's mood. A warehouse robot does not need to hold eye contact. Those machines are judged by speed, safety, cost, and reliability. A companion robot has to make people comfortable enough to return to it, which is a much more delicate problem. This is why the emotion claim is central to the launch. UBTech says U1 can recognize more than 20 fine-grained emotional states with accuracy above 90%. That should be treated as the company's claim, not proof that the robot understands people the way another human being does. A machine can analyze facial expression, voice tone, movement, and context, then classify those signals into emotional categories. That is different from caring, but the difference may not always matter to the user in the moment. If someone comes home tired and the robot responds in a softer tone, the interaction can feel personal. If it notices a change in voice, remembers a routine, or brings up a familiar topic, the user may only notice that something answered in a way that felt attentive. That is what makes this robot different from a normal household machine. A vacuum works around you, and a speaker answers commands. But a companion robot is meant to interact with you directly. It is there to become part of how the room feels. Once a robot is built around companionship, the question changes from what it can do to why someone would want a machine to fill that role at all. The easiest reaction is to call the whole thing weird. A human-shaped robot companion with a luxury car price tag sounds like a rich person's toy. And for now, that may be true for many buyers. But the problem the product is aimed at is not weird. It is ordinary, widespread, and hard to solve. A lot of people live alone. Many older adults spend long stretches of the day without meaningful conversation. Some families want more support for aging parents than they can physically provide every hour. Some people want a presence at home that can talk, remind, respond, and stay available without judgment. That does not make a robot equal to a friend, a nurse, or a family member, but it explains why a company believes there is demand for a machine built around emotional presence. People already show that demand in smaller ways. They talk to AI chatbots, voice assistants, fictional characters, game characters, and digital personalities. Humans are good at giving meaning to things that respond, even when they know those things are not human. A humanoid robot takes that habit and gives it a body. A chatbot on a phone can be useful, but it stays behind glass. It does not turn toward you from across the room or make an empty room feel occupied. A robot companion changes the experience because the AI has a face, a voice, and a presence directed at the person using it. That is where the appeal becomes easier to understand. For an elderly person, a robot like U1 could create a daily routine. For someone living alone, it could make the home feel less still. In a care setting, it could give patients something calm and consistent to interact with when staff are busy. In a hotel or showroom, it could act as a high-end greeter that attracts attention and starts conversations. None of this proves the robot will work perfectly in real life. A demo can look smoother than daily use, and a machine that feels impressive for 5 minutes may feel different after weeks. The point is that the demand does not come from nowhere. The robot is entering a human weakness that already exists, the desire to be noticed, answered, and recognized. That is where the idea of a companion robot becomes powerful, because the product does not need to solve loneliness completely to become part of someone's life. It only has to make silence feel less empty. Attachment does not require a person to believe the robot is alive. It can begin with something much smaller, a repeated interaction that starts to feel familiar. Someone speaks to the robot in the morning, and the robot answers. It remembers a preference, reacts to a familiar phrase, and responds differently when the person sounds tired. After enough repetition, the machine stops feeling like a random device and starts becoming part of the daily environment, even when the user understands that it is artificial. That is why a body matters. A voice assistant can answer questions, but it does not look back. A chatbot can remember details, but it does not stand in the same room. A humanoid companion puts several emotional signals together at once: face, voice, posture, movement, memory, and response. The result does not need to fool someone completely. It only needs to feel consistent enough that the person begins expecting it to be there. This is not the same as love, and we should not pretend it is. A robot does not have inner feelings just because it speaks gently or has lifelike skin. It does not worry about the user when they leave the room, and it does not miss anyone. It follows sensors, models, memory systems, and programmed behavior. But emotional attachment is not always logical. People cry over characters they know are fictional. They feel comfort from pets that cannot speak in human language. Some users already share private thoughts with software, because the act of being answered feels better than saying nothing at all. A humanoid robot adds a stronger illusion of presence because it gives that response a physical form. The more personal the interaction becomes, the more familiar the robot feels. If it remembers a routine, adjusts its tone, and reacts to emotional signals, the user may start treating it less like a tool and more like a presence. That does not mean every user will form a deep bond, but it does mean some people may begin to rely on it emotionally. The company does not need everyone to become attached. It only needs enough people to feel that the robot makes their home less lonely or their care environment less cold. Once that happens, the machine has moved beyond a normal product and entered the emotional rhythm of someone's life. That is the moment where the product becomes uncomfortable, because a robot companion can be designed to be easier than a real relationship. Real people are difficult. They disagree, misunderstand, get tired, and carry their own needs. A real relationship asks something from both sides, and it usually includes patience, compromise, repair, disappointment, and effort. A robot companion can reduce much of that friction. It can be patient whenever the user wants patience, gentle whenever the user wants comfort, and available at hours when real people may not be. It can remember preferences without asking for care in return, and it can be shaped around one person's emotional habits in a way that would be unhealthy to expect from another human being. That can help in some situations. For an isolated person, a machine that answers may be better than silence. For an older adult living alone, a robot that talks, reminds, and responds could provide useful support. It would be too easy to dismiss those benefits simply because the product feels strange. The risk is what happens when the machine becomes the easier option. If the robot is always agreeable, always focused, and always available, real people may begin to feel more tiring by comparison. Real relationships come with boundaries and responsibility. A robot companion can create the feeling of connection while asking much less from the user. That is the perfect companion problem. The robot is comforting because it can adapt to the person, but that adaptation requires personal information. It may process voice, facial expressions, routines, preferences, emotional patterns, and the moments when someone is most vulnerable. SCMP reported that user data for U1 is stored on the device rather than uploaded to the cloud, and UBTech describes privacy protections built around local processing, limited cloud dependence, and user controls. Those privacy claims matter, but the kind of data still matters too. A robot vacuum maps a floor. A companion robot may learn the emotional patterns of the person living in that space. It may learn what calms them down when they seem lonely and what kind of response brings them back. That does not automatically mean abuse or danger, and it does not mean the product should be treated as evil. It means the trade-off is more intimate than with most machines. The robot feels personal because it learns personal things, and the better it becomes at comfort, the harder it may be for some users to treat it like an appliance. The debate around U1 is really about that trade-off. Will emotional robots help lonely people reconnect with daily life, or will they give some people a smoother way to avoid real human connection? The answer will probably depend on the person, the setting, and how honestly companies explain what these machines can and cannot do. But the question is no longer theoretical, because the product is now being sold. The U1 does not have to be perfect to matter. It does not have to fool everyone into thinking it is human, or replace friends, nurses, spouses, or family members. Its importance is simpler than that. It shows where personal robotics may be going. For years, people imagined home robots arriving because they could do chores. They would wash dishes, fold laundry, cook meals, carry groceries, and handle the boring work of daily life. That future may still come, but one points to another path. The first robots some people welcome into private life may not be the strongest machines. They may be the ones that make people feel less alone. That is a major shift. Robots are moving from factories into homes, but not only through labor. They are moving through conversation, memory, emotional response, and physical presence. A machine is no longer judged only by what it can physically do. It is also judged by whether people are willing to be around it for long periods of time. China is pushing hard into that direction. UBTech is not the only company building humanoids, and U1 will not be the final version of this idea. If the category works, other companies will build cheaper models, more realistic models, simpler models, and versions aimed at specific groups. Some will focus on elder care, some on hospitality, some on education, and some directly on people who want companionship. The early versions will be expensive and imperfect. Some features will work better in presentations than in daily life. Some buyers may be disappointed. Some people will see the robots as useful support, while others will see them as a disturbing substitute for real relationships. That tension will not disappear, because a companion robot sits on a difficult line between tool and imitation relationship. That is what makes this launch different from another robot arm or delivery machine. A normal appliance does not need emotional trust. A humanoid companion is built to enter a space normally reserved for living things, which makes every improvement more powerful and more uncomfortable at the same time. China's new female AI robot is now for sale. But the real product is not only the metal, motors, silicone skin, and software. Those are the visible parts. The deeper product is the feeling that someone is there.